Hey, what's up? I'm Dave Boyer, aka Mr. Boyer, aka the Swamp Man, and I'm in Waimea Canyon State Park on the island of Kauai in Hawaii. And we'll be visiting 3 of the main islands of Hawaii on this trip. And in this video, I'm going to try to teach you about how the Hawaiian Islands formed, how it relates to the movements underneath the crust, underneath the surface of the earth, and what might be causing the islands to be created in the first place. Let me first give you a look at Waimea Canyon. Pretty spectacular, huh? Sometimes called the Grand Canyon of the Pacific. We're in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, which is kind of why I'm making this video, why the Hawaiian Islands are so unique. Other islands that you may learn about are formed in a much different way. They're formed where 2 plates come together, places like a convergent plate boundary, where one landmass might be pushing into another one, pushing underneath another one. It's called subduction, melting that rock into magma and then spewing through the surface to relieve pressure. But the Hawaiian Islands don't have that kind of a thing underneath them. What's underneath the Hawaiian Islands is a hot spot. So that's going to play a key role in learning how these Hawaiian Islands form, and a key role in understanding this video. So a hot spot is just an unusually hot area of the outer core, and every spot of the outer core is hot, anywhere from 1,000 degrees Celsius even up to 10,000 degrees Celsius by the time you get to the inner core. But if you drop thermometers down in there, you're not going to get the same temperature everywhere in that outer core. And underneath the Hawaiian Islands, or at least underneath one of them currently, is an insanely hot area, and that's causing magma to push up, and it pushed up with so much force that it ate a hole through the bottom of the crust and erupted out as lava. And that's kind of the story of how these Hawaiian Islands started. And it started long before this island of Kauai. Kauai is 5 million years old. But there were many islands that formed over this hot spot before Kauai was here. So I'm going to try to take you a journey. After Kauai, we'll be going to the Big Island, and then we're finishing up our trip on Maui. So the only one of the 4 main islands that we're not going to see in this is Oahu. But I'll try to get you a look at what it's like on each of the 4, or each of the 3 islands that we're traveling to on this trip. Pretty awesome. I'll talk to you again in a minute. Maybe you could tell, but we've made it to the Big Island, and we're in Hawaii Volcanoes National Park now. And this is like the place to see the action of how these Hawaiian Islands were formed. So we're on the Kilauea Iki Trail, and we've been walking around the rim of the Kilauea Iki crater, and we're about to be descending down into the crater, and we get to walk on the floor of an old lava lake. I think it erupted. Actually, let me scoot over here. Hopefully in the back there you can see this kind of reddish dirt volcanic rock back there. That's where it erupted most recently, I think 1967, and it filled this whole valley floor here with lava, and it cooled and hardened into this surface that we're going to walk across in just a little bit. But this is the Kilauea volcano, and the main active area now. It's not as active as it sometimes is, but back on the other side of a little kind of ridge line back there is the Halumau. I'm not great with the Hawaiian names, but I'll try to add that in when we get over there as well. But that's the active area. So there is lava currently flowing, a similar lava lake as what this Kilauea Iki is that we're going to go down into. So this volcano is bringing new rock up from the mantle. Inside of the mantle, we've got this rising column of magma, and magma is melted rock. And as it comes out onto the surface, we now call that lava. So the big island is adding rock to it. When sometimes it spills over into the ocean. We've seen that before on our honeymoon 9 years ago. The lava flows going into the ocean. It actually was adding at that time something like 10 acres of land every year. I don't think it's currently adding any new land because all the lava is being contained within the crater, but that crater floor is rising up over time. So that hot spot underneath Hawaii is causing this new rock to come up, and it's been piling up here on the Big Island for about 700,000 years, or 700,000 years ago. It had enough rock that it broke through the surface of the ocean and formed an island, and it's been growing ever since. Last night we were on the summit of Mauna Kea, the highest point of the state of Hawaii, and it's 13,780 feet or so. And it's not going to get any taller there because that's not a very active area. There's no new rock being added on top of there. It'll eventually kind of weather down lower and lower and lower actually over time. But the Big Island here is actually still growing. So I'll be able to show you some really cool spots on the Big Island, and hopefully you get a good sense of how these volcanic islands in the middle of the Pacific Plate have formed. So that one there with the red kind of fluffy looking flowers is the ohia tree. A tree that's endangered, and there's been a lot of efforts to try to protect it. But it's just such a good, this spot here. I mean, just 65 years ago, this was all molten rock. This was all lava. And then plants come in, you know, the slope, the trail that we just were hiking down is completely forested, and some beautiful forests up there. So plants are able to spread pretty quickly, relatively quickly, and then they find a spot somewhere in this inhospitable rock, this new rock with almost no good, you know, minerals and soil and all the things that plants really need to survive. It's really lacking here down in the Kilauea Iki crater, and yet plant succession is happening. These plants are super tough, and they're coming into this really difficult environment to survive in, and they're thriving, they're spreading, and it's just really incredible to see. Just kind of gives you that example of how resilient planet Earth is, and how resilient life on Earth is, that even in tough times, even in really tough situations, you can find a way to survive. Sometimes I need inspiration like that. You know, obviously life for a human is different than life for a plant, but when it comes down to it, it's really not that different. We all have our needs. We need energy, so we got to eat. Plants need energy, they need some sunlight. Well, down in the crater, it's going to be easy to find sunlight if these clouds would move out of the way. They need water. And it was raining this morning, so water is available. And then they just got to have all the parts to reproduce and spread. And these ohia trees in here are doing that. That's pretty incredible. This is one of my favorite trails I've been on. You know, I've hiked a few trails in my life, and this is up there. Top 5, top 10 trail that I've ever hiked in my life. It's really cool. It's my second time doing it, and I don't think it'll be my last. I'd like to hike it, you know, as many times as I can. All right, we're about to head across the crater floor, the lava lake, and hopefully I'll be able to find a steam vent where I can feel the heat coming up. There's lava down below where we're walking. Luckily, this is hardened enough that it's going to support us, and it's not expected to erupt or be dangerous in any way. So hopefully I'll get to show you that in just a few minutes.
I know. Bye-bye.
Alright, so like I've said, the crater floor here is safe, relatively safe. There's always a tiny bit of risk when you're on a volcano, but they're not expecting lava eruptions here. But it doesn't mean that there's not magma underneath the surface here. So I stopped at one of the steam vents on this trail. I'm sure the steam won't show up on camera, but there's pretty good heat coming out. Not quite like burn your hand hot right now. When we were here in 2013, I feel like it was hotter than this, which might mean that the magma is even deeper below the ground here. Kilauea has kind of calmed down some since its major eruptions in 2020, I think, 2 years ago. Oh, there's some good steam. Actually, feel that heat. So all underneath this old lava lake is still magma. There's chambers of magma, but they're trying to find places that are less pressure to where they could erupt from, and that's the main crater just over the ridge back over here, and we'll take a look at that a little bit later. It's really cool to feel the heat from the lava inside of a volcano. Also really cool to see the shadows of the clouds going by over here. It's amazing. We're a little bit past halfway along this trail. Just to kind of orient you of where we've come. We started up on this ridge line over here at the parking lot. We've walked along the entire crater rim on this side. when we got to the back side of Kilauea Iki crater, we descended down into the crater, and then now we're heading straight across the floor of the crater, and we'll come back up on that side. Started early, which meant it was cold, so everybody's been complaining about how cold it is. It's windy, I'm sure you can hear that, but you got to get out early to beat some crowds. You know, there's been people walking by, a family just walked by there, but we've had plenty of time to have this trail to ourselves, which is cool. All right, well, maybe the next video I'll make will be from the rim of the main active crater right now. So I'll see you there. We're not quite done with the Kilauea Iki trail section yet, but we popped off and across the road to do the half-mile loop through the Thurston lava tube. So I'll give you a look at that in a second. Not going to be able to see anything in this video, but I am inside the Thurston lava tube. So lava tube is exactly what it sounds like. It's an underground tube where lava flowed and melted the rock around it as it passed through, and then after it passed through, left a cavity behind. Pretty awesome. But I know you can't see it. Woohoo!
Are you gonna take a lot more pictures tonight when the lava's flowing?
All right, we've made it to Maui. It's our first full day. We got in yesterday afternoon. We're on a hike on the Kapalua Coastal Trail, and we're going to be going out on Kapalua Beach to go snorkeling and playing on the beach and things like that. But this is a really awesome little spot. There's several of these little peninsulas that kind of juts out from the Kapalua Coastal Trail, and we were just looking down to that spot and immediately started seeing green sea turtles. One really big one, two kind of smaller ones, and then a medium-sized one. So Maui is the second youngest of the Hawaiian Islands. It sprang up about 1 million years ago, 1.5 million years ago maybe, I think. I have to edit that and put the actual time in there, but it formed above the hotspot, the same hotspot that is currently just southeast of the Big Island, and growing a new seamount that they've called Loihi. So this process of the Hawaiian island chains is just this one long continuous story that actually goes back hundreds of millions of years, where islands that have moved far away from here have been washed below the surface of the sea already, and at the end point, kind of right off the Philippines and Russian coast, is subduction. These islands that have formed over this hot spot, been carried away by the Pacific plate to the northwest or west, and then on the other edge of the plate it's converging with the Eurasian plate and the Philippine plate, and causing that oceanic crust of the Pacific plate to be pushed down underneath the Philippine or underneath the Eurasian plate, and that's the process of subduction. Subduction is going to lead to volcanoes being formed. So these volcanic islands that were created here above the hotspot in Hawaii, traveled across the Pacific Ocean, halfway across the Pacific Ocean to the other edge, the western edge of the Pacific Ocean, then get pushed underneath the continental crust there, or the other oceanic crust, melt back into magma in the mantle, and then create enough pressure to push themselves upwards through the crust again and erupt as a new volcanic island, like the volcanic islands of Japan, or the Kamchatka Peninsula of Russia, or the islands of the Philippines. All of that rock can come from this same spot that we've been traveling on in the Hawaiian Islands. It's just such an incredible story of geology and of the changes that happen on Earth's surface, and the result of the convection currents in the mantle. Like, there's so many cool science concepts that play into this never-ending process. Can't say never, like scientists don't like to use the words never or forever, but when you're talking about billions of years that it's been happening, that's at least in terms of humans, that's pretty much a never-ending process. Really cool. Well, I think my daughters are crying to get to the beach and be done with the hiking portion of our day, even though I'm loving this. But the snorkeling in Kapalua Bay is supposed to be top-notch. There's lots of good snorkeling spots not far from here also. Honolulu Bay. The beach in the background there, I think, is Onalua or Wanlua or something like that. I don't know how it's pronounced, but not a lot of reef and rocks in that area, so it's not the best beach for snorkeling, but looks like some beautiful sand back there. All right, I'm gonna catch back up with my family, and I'll try to show you some more sights. I think tomorrow we're trying to head to Haleakala National Park, where there's lots of great evidence of how this island of Maui formed. I'll see you then. back today to hike the rest of the Kapalua Coastal Trail and to go snorkeling again in Kapalua Bay because it was amazing. And if you have an amazing experience and you get a chance to repeat it, why not? But we actually are off the Kapalua Coastal Trail on this little peninsula, and this spot is called Dragon's Teeth. All this over here kind of looks like the lower jaw of a dragon, and we're in its mouth. It scooped us up, chomping on us.
Hi.
What do you think of Dragon's Teeth?
Fun.
It's fun.
Right, you. Is there room for two? Sure.
So if you can imagine this lava flow coming down from the West Maui Mountains and heading towards the ocean, and then waves lapping up against the side of the lava, pushing that lava and cooling it down really quick. Forming these teeth formations, and then they've been slowly eroding over time, weathering and eroding.
His fin just split.
And a good place to see turtles.